Hello and welcome to another episode of the Career Reset podcast. Today's episode will be a little bit different than my previous episodes because I'm not going to be talking specifically about some career topic or job searching topic. What I would like to actually talk about today is what my job is about. What is career coaching? What does that look like? What do I do on a daily basis? And maybe take you a little bit behind the scenes, but actually to the front of the scenes and just explain what do I actually do, what is career coaching, what maybe other coaches do, because my job is definitely not something that when I tell to other people, they know instantly what that means. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an architect, I'm not the firefighter, or even like a lot of jobs in business. When you say I work in marketing, many people will know. But being a career coach, I think it's a relatively new field and it's not very clearly defined. So often when I say that in professional or personal setting, people either look confused or they have a lot of questions what that actually means. And I thought it would be really good to talk about it, what it actually is. And I mean, you maybe not necessarily care what the job is about, but what I want to focus it on if it makes sense for you maybe now to hire a career coach and how that profession could help you. And I want to be very ethical in this episode because I don't necessarily believe that coaching, hiring a coach, any type of coach, be it career or any other, is something you necessarily need. I think that's what a therapist is for. Like, a therapist is someone you need, and a career coach is someone you potentially want to hire at a specific point of your life. And I'm publishing this episode specifically now because, as I mentioned in the last episode, this is the last time for the next several months that I will be taking on new clients. So I'm taking new clients until the end of May. So if you get in touch with me by the end of May, you let me know you would like to schedule an intro session with me, we will do that and we will decide if it makes sense to work together. But I will not be taking on new clients. Earliest I will do that is then in August. So now would be a really good time to get in touch. And if you're one of those people who thinks that you want to take a break from your job search and from careers altogether for the summer, I have just published a LinkedIn post what I think about it. So I will link it down below. But basically, I definitely agree that there are not that many open jobs during the summer. So it really doesn't make sense to be on LinkedIn browsing open jobs. And it's summer, like we all want to enjoy it. I partly don't take new clients because I also want to take some time off, and my kid is not in daycare. The daycare is closed for the summer, so I need to somehow take care of her. And I, of course, want to enjoy the summer with her. So I'm a big advocate for just enjoying the summer. But at the same time, I'm also a big advocate for not setting something that inherently stresses you out aside for many months. Because not many people are so great in their emotional and thought management that they could really say, okay, I will not think about my job and my career and my job search for the summer, and they would actually stick to it. What I hear more often is that people say, yeah, I'm going to take the summer off, enjoy it, and then I'm going to get back to job search or like thinking what I want to do in my career. But it creeps up these thoughts, and especially as the summer is coming to an end, you are enjoying a day at the beach, but then out of nowhere comes the thought, oh damn, but I will need to look for a job soon. Oh, but I don't even want to think about it. So unless you are one of the rare people with master mind management and you can really shut all these thoughts off for the summer and then get back to it and then just pick it right back up after the summer, then wow, teach me your secrets if you're one of these people. But if you're not one of these people, if you're one of us, people who have still some work to do on managing our thoughts during our time off, then I want to suggest to you that hiring a career coach for the summer might actually be the smartest time of the year, because the way I approach my work is that you show up to our session once a week, once every 2 weeks. The session is 1 hour. I get the information from you that I need. You get the perspective that you need. You get to ask questions. And then I give you one very clear task what to do before our next session, which again is not going to take you like a week to do. It's not even going to take you a day. And then we get back together. And in the meantime, you are just enjoying your summer, actually knowing that you have someone, me, taking care of your career and making sure that we are on track. And then once the jobs open, you are ready, you know exactly what jobs you're looking for, you have a strong LinkedIn profile, you are already getting contacted by recruiters in August when the new jobs open up, you have a strong CV, you have all your application materials ready so that when the first new jobs open, you can apply very quickly because timing matters. Companies are interviewing people on a rolling basis. It's not like that they would wait for 6 weeks for everybody to submit their application. And often if they find good enough number of candidates before the application period even closes, they will just stop accepting new applicants. So approaching it this way, that during the summer you actually get ready, you're not maybe actively applying or actively looking, but you have all the application materials, you have the strategy, you know what jobs you're applying for, then you actually can very easily pick it back up in the autumn, instead of what I see often that okay, people enjoy their summer and partly they are stressed about what's gonna happen with them after the summer is over, what they will have to do. And then summer is over, people are back to work, and suddenly you are thinking that, okay, but what do I do? What do I even want to do? What is my CV? How do I edit my LinkedIn? What jobs should I apply to? Where should I apply to jobs? But most jobs don't even get advertised. Where do I find these jobs? And that is so overwhelming that you most probably just do nothing about it for a few more months and you are missing out on cool opportunities. So if you want to be the unconfused one and the one who's ready to take action when the summer ends, then as mentioned, this would be the time to get in touch with me. You can fill out the form that I link in the show notes. We will schedule an intro session and just talk about where you're at, what's your situation, what you have tried, what you want. And then if I feel like that is a situation I can help you with, I will tell you how we can work together, what exactly I would do for your specific situation, and we can have a really productive summer together, basically. But in this episode, I want to talk a bit more specifically what that actually looks like, what career coaches do, what they can do for you. I can't speak for all the career coaches out there. It's not very clearly defined field. Everybody approaches their work differently, and it's, as I mentioned, relatively new, so it can be very interesting for you to actually hear what it is about and then make a maybe better decision whether that is something that makes sense for you right now in your career. And I really want to have this episode ready. And when somebody asks me that how does it work, what is career coaching about, they are curious, but of course they want to have more information, I can point them to this specific episode. So funnily enough, I didn't really know career coaching is a thing, that it's a field for many years. I have personally never worked with a career coach, which is often why people get into this field, that they hire a career coach themselves and then it's so amazing, they get so great results that then maybe later in life they decide, oh my god, that was such a great experience, I want to give that great experience to other people as well. But maybe my experience from early on in my career, or actually during my studies, is more with some kind of advisors that were associated with my high school, with my university, people who were supposed to advise me on what I should study further or what I should specialize in, what kind of jobs I should be aiming for. And my experience with those professionals wasn't great. Those were all lovely people, but the service they gave me was not very useful because they had some kind of template approach, usually some questionnaire or something like that. And then based on the questionnaire, they gave me very clear recommendation that this is what you should do. And funnily enough, many people expect that from me, or they would love that they just answer a few questions and I tell them, based on these answers, you should be data analyst or whatever. But working in this field for almost 5 years now, I have learned that it's just not that easy, that the right career path consists of many different aspects, one being your background, one being your interests, you take these internal factors, like what are you good at, what are you interested in, what have you done, but then you need to match that with the outside world, that what is actually out there, what are the jobs that would make sense for you, and then thinking what area has the best match, where most of these factors come together and make sense for you and your next career step. That is definitely one big area that career coaches do, that they help people make a decision on the right career step. And often people ask me, but like, how can you do that? That is so complicated. And that is definitely true, but it comes from what I combine in my approach. I'm a trained coach. I did a training that taught us a specific process, how we can help people identify their goal and achieve it. So I combine that process of listing all the different options you are considering, looking at them from different perspective, keeping you on the conversation. That is a big thing that I do, that I always ask my clients to list all the options they're actually considering, and then they are telling me the options and they are thinking like, well, I have thought about HR, but I don't know how many jobs there are even. I'm worried it will be replaced by AI and I don't have any qualification for it. And I need to say like, okay, yeah, we will get to that, but now just tell me all the different options. And that's the difference between just thinking something in your head and then saying it out loud to a trained professional who can keep up with you, but also interrupt and say, hey, but actually this was the question, this is what we were talking about. I even can do that with my own thoughts, that my thoughts just go a million different directions, and having that outside perspective of someone reminding you that this is what we are thinking about, this is what we are thinking about, is just super valuable to begin with. But that is step one, that we just need to actually know all the different options. Then I need to know your reasoning behind it, that why is that field appealing, but what are your worries? And then I match that with my very extensive knowledge of the job market, of what jobs are available, and I specialize in business and tech, because it would be absolutely impossible that I would be able to have the same understanding of, let's say, jobs in law, in academia, in education. When people come to me from these fields, I don't turn them away. It's in the end everybody's decision who they think is the right coach for them, but I make it very clear that when it comes to the job market knowledge and expertise, I can really help when it comes to business and tech. And then I, of course, help you eliminate that. What are the areas that you are considering only because you think is a smart option, but you actually have zero interest in that field? What are the jobs that you are just considering based on they are in your existing background, but again, there is no interest in that field? So that is my approach, that I go through the what is the appealing path, what are the interesting jobs for you. Because I think of it that if you invest in my services, if you invest in career coaching, you are probably not doing that just to get a job. You can get that kind of support from, let's say, unemployment office or university career center. Those are usually publicly funded services, so obviously nobody has the time or resources there to be like, but what would interest you and what are the aspects of this job that really excite you? They are funded just to get people employed, but when working with me, we have that luxury to focus on, let's not just get you a job, but let's get you an interesting job, a job that would make sense for your life circumstances, for your long-term career goals, so that by the end of our collaboration, you're not just employed, but you're actually happy. That is the whole point of coaching in general, I think. And that all starts with actually making the right decision about what's the next best step. So if that is something you are struggling with, and maybe you have been struggling for a long time, then one of my values is that I am very happy to work with people who feel like they have tried everything. That is the time when working with career coach really makes sense. And obviously there always might be a book that you haven't read yet or something, but from your personal feeling, when you feel exhausted and the thought of trying something on your own for the 100th time just does not seem appealing, then working with a career coach is a really good idea. And actually, when someone approaches me and they say that they are considering looking for a new job, they haven't even applied for a single one, then I often tell them, you know what, I really recommend that you try on your own first, because then either it will work out and then great, you got to the result that you wanted and you saved time and money working with a career coach, or it won't work, but then we have a much better basis to work on, because then you can tell me what exactly you did. I can explain you exactly why it didn't work, and I can tell you, okay, since you have tried all these things, let's take all the learnings that you got from trying it, why it didn't work, and let's apply it to the new strategy, making sure that the new strategy actually will work. So I always find it way more valuable when I get in touch with people who have already tried something to move forward in their career. But of course, if someone tells me I am newly laid off and I absolutely have no interest figuring things out on my own and I just want to get into a good job again quickly, then I say, yes, welcome, let's get it done. When somebody approaches me and they are not so sure if working with me would make sense, I can help them make that right decision. And that is the whole point of the intro session. It's a sales discussion. But since I used to work in sales and I was leading actual sales discussion, I'm a little bit damaged from being forced to sell to people when I wasn't even convinced that it's the right solution for them. And that was one thing that was just really, really clear to me from the start of my business, that no matter how desperate I am and no matter how my financials are looking, I will never ever convince someone to be my client if I don't believe it's a good idea for them, or if I don't believe that they would really benefit from working with me. And I am so grateful that even though I was in very tough situations and months without a single client and then one reached out, I was able to put my desperation aside. I believe in general that a good coach is unattached and doesn't make you ever feel under pressure to make a decision whether you want to work with them or not. But at the same time, I make sure that when you come to the intro session, you get some value out of it. And I don't think it's very valuable for either of us to be like, you tell me what's your situation, I tell you about my services, and you tell me, okay, I will think about it, bye. So then what that achieved is that it just added another decision on your plate that you now need to figure out on your own. I don't think that if that's the case, I provided very good value. So I always make sure that we explore the decision together, that what are the aspects you're looking at it. And in many cases, the person explained to me there, what are they considering? I said, you know what, that's a very legit situation. I think we should wait or we should get together later. But what happens most often is that because I've done this for so many times with so many clients, that even though for them the situation feels very overwhelming, I can say, you know what, this is very easy. We can get it done in like 3 sessions and you will be ready and you will be securing interviews and doing well in them. And that is, of course, the second part of what I understand under career coaching. So first of all, the big one is to decide on the next right career step. That is the beginning of everything, because if you don't know what you're actually doing, what you're going after, then everything you do is a waste of time. And often the lack of decision and lack of direction is a reason not to do anything about it. I often hear that if I just knew what I actually want to do, I would be so successful. If I just knew what's the right career path for me, I could really start learning and building network, making sure I'm like learning the right skills and meeting the right people. So not knowing where are you actually going in your career, that's a big waste of time. And that is something that never gets solved by itself unless you really sit down, ideally with a career coach, and talk through the options and make a decision where you're actually going. Then you're just sitting, waiting, opportunities are passing you by, and you are getting more and more and more stuck, incorporating more and more different aspects that you could look at the problem from. To put it short, after I've been talking about this for like 20 minutes, is making the decision on your next career step. If that's the main thing you are trying to figure out, getting in touch with a career coach might be really, really valuable thing to do. And the only thing you will regret is that you hadn't done it sooner, basically. But then once that is decided, then a career coach can actually help you pursue that direction. And that then depends really on what career path you're getting on and what are your goals. I always make a very personalized strategy with each of my clients, because sometimes it can be about progressing in your company internally, getting a promotion, and sometimes more often it is about looking for jobs somewhere else. And then it depends, again, I incorporate my very extensive knowledge of the field, of the recruitment practices, of the market situation, to tell you that in that field we can of course focus on the open jobs, and we will. So we make sure we cover all our bases, but actually in this field the hidden job market is a really big thing, and we need to make a strategy that makes sense for you, that works for you, for how can we tap into that and make sure there just is not an opportunity that you haven't heard about, and working towards a situation where when a company opens a new job, they are already thinking about you specifically, like your name, which can sound so far-fetched, but here in Finland, that is actually a very realistic scenario, because it's a very small market. It's just less than 6 million people in the whole country. And then when you narrow it down to people in your specific field, people in your specific seniority level, then you get to really quite a small number of people that if you are well connected to them and you build your visibility towards these people, then you will be surprised to see how quickly you become the one people think of, because not many people here in Finland are actually building their visibility. There is a very strong belief that we should just work and be quiet about it and let the work speak for itself and wait for the opportunities to maybe come in the future from the hard work that we do, which then doesn't happen. And then it's actually the loud, the visible people who maybe aren't even as qualified who get considered for these opportunities. But the path to the next job looks different for everyone, and that's why it can be so overwhelming to consume some general advice like I give in this podcast or like I give in my LinkedIn. I believe in that advice. I think it's really valuable, but I understand that it can also be really hard to think, but how does it apply to me? Does this even apply to me? Will it work for me if I follow this strategy? And that's why then career coaches work one-on-one with people, so that they think, okay, so you want to get into this field. This is what I know works. This is what we need to do to make you visible, to expose you to the right jobs. This is where the jobs are hiding. But then we also consider, okay, you hate going to networking events, so what's a different way we could get you introduced to the people? Should we contact them directly on LinkedIn? Should we think about the people who you already know and if they could connect you with the right people? Should we disregard networking at all and think about building your visibility in a different way? I have over the years collected hundreds of different ways that you can pursue the next career step, but if I wrote a LinkedIn post like, okay, here is 100 ways that you can try to get to your next job, I don't think many people would be like, oh, that's great, I'm gonna try all of them. Most people would be like, oh my god, 100 ways, that is so overwhelming. But when I know the specific person, I can think of knowing you, knowing what you want, knowing what you're comfortable with, knowing what you have done in the past. These are the things I would recommend. What do you think? This is how we implement it. And I'm also like not even mentioning things that I consider absolute basics that every career coach should be able to do. And that is helping you make a strong CV or resume, whatever you want to call it, and editing your LinkedIn profile so that it is attractive to recruiters. And my personal opinion and value is that a good career coach has worked in recruitment, because otherwise, how can the person know what's a good CV, what's a good LinkedIn profile, if they were never in the position of looking through thousands of LinkedIn profiles and deciding which will be the 10 people that will be invited to an interview. And since I do have that experience, the way I edit people's CVs and LinkedIn profiles is not like, I think it would sound better if we say it like this, or I think your CV would look nicer if we add the color blue to it. But I think of the functionality, like how to create functional application materials from my recruitment experience, but then also from my experience of editing other people's materials and seeing that, okay, if we structure the LinkedIn like this, they started getting a lot more messages from recruiters. So I incorporate all these different experiences. So the longer I work as a career coach, the more valuable my services are, the more expensive they also are. So the sooner you start working with me, the better, because I am continuously increasing my prices as I am giving more value to my clients and as I'm able to get them faster to the results they want. And then the final thing that is really, really big is accountability, which is very simple, but for my clients, this works amazingly. And for me, when I hire a coach for some area of my life or business, it also works really well. That often is a guaranteed way for me to take action, because if we agree with a coach to do something before the next session and I don't do it, then I feel like an idiot because I'm here spending money on this coach. There will be very awkward discussion where they will ask me, how did it go? And I would have to say, you know what, I actually didn't do anything about it. So hiring a coach is bulletproof to actually start doing things, because it will suddenly become way more uncomfortable to not do them than to actually do them and take action. And even though, in the end, it's not my career, it's not my job, but for the sake of the client, I create just the right amount of pressure to get them doing the things that will get them the results they want. And that is very important. I don't think a good coach should be like, do this or whatever. If you don't feel like it, just don't do it. That's not why we pay coaches. We pay coaches so that they are on our butt telling us what to do and holding us accountable. So that is basically what my understanding and my approach to career coaching is about. So to sum it up, it's helping you figure out the right next career step, incorporating inner and outer factors that should shape the decision. And then it's about creating the right personalized strategy, getting application materials in check, but just thinking of what would be the steps that make sense for you, making it very simple for you to implement all these steps, and then finally holding you accountable to actually follow through with these steps. So if this sounds appealing and like it would address what you are looking for, then you have nothing to lose if you reach out to career coaches and schedule some kind of free intro call. I mean, all coaches are offering it. All coaches will give you the opportunity to get to know them for free and without commitment before you decide if they're actually the right people to work with. And if you are looking for a job in business and tech, then you should get in touch with yours truly, because I'm really good at what I do. I will just say it like that. No imposter syndrome, no insecurity here. I am just really confident because I have helped so many people in such tough career spots to decide what they want and secure their next jobs. For me, that's my day-to-day job. I have done it so many times for so many different people that whoever you are, I'm pretty confident I would be able to help you. But I also want to give you the opportunity to get to know me without commitment. And that's why I offer a free intro session for a few days since publishing this episode. So if you resonated with this episode, if you have been listening to this podcast and enjoying them, but most importantly, if you want to have a really exciting, enjoyable career, you should schedule an intro session with me, and I will show you exactly what that career could look like for you and how we will get you there. So I hope this was an insightful episode into what actually is career coaching and understanding how it might help you and if it's the right thing for you. Of course, if you have any questions about it, reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to do it, and maybe you can ask specifically if there is something I haven't mentioned. And I hope to start working with many of you very soon and help you get into great jobs. That's what I do. That's what I love doing, and that's why I'm in this profession. And I will, of course, speak to you in the next episode, because the podcast is not going on break for the summer. I have lots of different ideas what I want to talk about. So I will see you hopefully in our intro session, and I will talk to you in the next episode.